Hi, how you doing? Thanks so much for being here. I'm instructor Dwayne Jenkins. In today's video lesson, what we're going to be doing is discussing something that I get asked a lot about, is about guitar modes. What are guitar modes? What are they? You know, these weird names, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, what are they? You know, well, I get this asked quite a bit, so I decided to write a book about it. This book right here is called How to Play Guitar Modes for Beginners and Intermediate Students. And what we're going to do in this lesson is I'm going to tell you a little bit about what guitar modes are. Alright, so if you're interested in guitar modes, what they are, what they're all about, stick around and I'll show you.
Audio Jungle.
Okay, so right here in Chapter 1, Lesson 1, what is a mode? Okay, a mode is a selection of notes within the major scale of the key that is taken out of, okay, starting on a particular note of the major scale. The major scale has 7 notes, and each one of these notes has a mode that is created off of that particular note, okay? So since we have 7 notes, we have 7 modes, all right? It makes sense? Okay? Like, for instance, the key of C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Okay, there's actually 8 notes there, but the 1 and the 8, the C and the C are the same, so technically we only have 7 notes. Okay, so now the key of C, C major, is going to have our 8 notes, 7 notes technically, because the 1 and the 8 are the same. So we find a C on our guitar. The easiest one to work with is right here on the 5th string, 2nd fret. This is our C note, okay? I'm sorry, no, that's our B note. Sorry about that. Our C note is right here at the 3rd fret. Sorry about that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the C major scale along the fretboard. So we're going to start with the C. The next note is a D. The next note is an E. The next note is F. Next note is 10th fret G. 12th fret A. 14th fret B, back to 15th fret C. And if you notice, you get that do, re, mi. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay? So your major scale is always going to have that. If it doesn't have that, it's not the major scale. There's thousands of scales, okay? So, but the major scale is always the most recognizable because it has the do, re, mi. That's why you always start off with that one, okay? Especially when you first learn music, if you look at books and stuff, they always teach you the key of C, and that's why, because it doesn't have any sharps or flats in it. So it's a good way to get started, okay? So if we look at these notes, see, we can hear that. And what's funny about the C major scale is it's also Joy to the World backwards. Listen. Isn't that funny? Anyway, okay, so each one of these notes has a mode that is relative to it, okay? So the first note would be the Ionian note, or I'm sorry, the Ionian mode, the Dorian mode, Phrygian mode, Lydian mode, Mixolydian mode, Aeolian mode, Locrian mode, and then back to the Ionian mode, okay? So basically 7 modes. Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. Okay, 7 notes, 7 modes, which means there's a scale that comes off of each one of those notes, alright? So like for instance, to explain this a little bit further, let's say we find the C note on our 6th string, okay? So on our 5th string it's at the 3rd fret, but on our 6th string it's at the 8th fret. You can tell, see, they're both C notes. This is a good reason why you want to learn your notes, okay? Now if we play this across the fretboard this way, we can play the C major scale. See, that's our C, the same thing as what we played this way, but across the strings. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then if we play it in 2 octaves, okay, and then the mode actually adds 1 more note here. Alright, so now that was the Ionian mode, okay, based off of the C major scale. Or the C note of the C major scale. See, I just kind of created that little lick right there out of that scale. See? And if you use all your 4 fingers, you can play it as kind of like a box pattern, very much like your pentatonic scales, okay? And if you get to know it really well, you can do all kinds of really cool stuff with it. Okay, so that's the Ionian mode, and then we would go down to the next note, which would be the D note here at the 10th fret, and play the Dorian mode, which is a different pattern, okay? And like I mentioned many times in my trainings, in my lessons, in my books, think in patterns, okay? If you think in patterns, it's going to make it a lot easier to learn the fretboard, because the notes and everything, and the way they're designed on the guitar, they can be broken down in patterns. Your scales, your chords, your notes. So think in patterns when you're trying to learn the guitar. It's going to make it a lot easier, okay? So your C Ionian mode has a certain pattern to it. Then you're going to go to your Dorian mode that's going to start on the 2nd tone degree of the scale, which is D, and that has a certain pattern. And then your next one is the Phrygian mode. That's going to have a certain pattern. And then your Lydian mode, your Mixolydian, and your Aeolian and Locrian, they're all going to have a certain pattern to them. And because you're starting on the 2nd and 3rd, a different tone degree of the scale, each one of them is going to sound different. Each one of them is going to have a bit of a character to them, okay? And we'll go over that, each one of those further in detail in further lessons. But I basically, in this lesson, want to just show you what a mode actually is. It's just basically like a scale, kind of like your pentatonic scales, but they're based off the notes of the major scale, and there's only 7 of them because of the fact there's only 7 notes in the major scale. If there was 10 notes, there would be 10 modes. If there was 5 notes, it'd be 5 modes, okay? That's why there's 7 of them, all right? And they come from Greek method. That's where those words come from: Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Aeolian, okay? And so then once you learn that, so my recommendation would be first learn your scales. Make sure you know that major scale like the back of your hand. And start with C, because that doesn't have any accidentals or sharps or flats, called accidentals. And then go to G, because G only has 1, it's F sharp. And then I would try D next, because it has 2. Okay, and you can learn all this in my books. I have multiple books that I've written on this stuff. And we're just going to be doing some lessons in the next series on modes. Okay, so if you're interested in modes, I would recommend checking these videos out. But right off the bat, like I said, we got to know the major scale, okay? That's in C. And then we got to know the mode, where it starts on the 6th string, and then play that scale in 2 octaves across the fretboard. And the Ionian mode is probably the easiest, and you could probably even learn this on your own if you just listen. You know, take any note. I don't care, we're at G here, so this is G. So you can hear that. You can hear that do, re, mi in that scale of notes. So all you have to do is really find the do, re, mi and remember where those notes are, and then do it across the fretboard like this, you know. You could do that, you could go, but that would be kind of a stretch to do that. You could do that too. That's another way you could do it. Or you could do it like this. Either or, it doesn't really matter as long as you know you should find those notes. But if you do it like this, then it'd be really practice your stretching. See how I did the major scale all through that? That's what you really want to master. That's what the modes will allow you to do, to really master this fretboard, and it helps with ear training too, okay? But that technically was going part of your Dorian mode, because your Dorian mode is this right here. And you can see it was in the key of G, well, because of the fact that it resolves back in the key of G. So no matter what mode you start with, it should come back to the key that you're starting it in. Like for instance in G. If I was playing in G and I started to do the Dorian mode, which would be at the 2nd tone degree in A, you can tell it resides on there. Back to C, like we're doing C, right, at 8th fret. If we did the Dorian mode at the 10th fret, So you can tell we're still in the key of C. Even though we started on the D, we're still in the key of C. And if you wanted to find that Dorian mode, you just start with C and go. So you can tell that's the first part of the mode right there, because that's the major scale. Okay, so the Dorian mode would start at the 10 on the D note. Okay, I did that a little bit quick, but I'm just trying to give you an understanding of how this stuff works. And then once you learn all 7 of them, you can connect them together like the pentatonic scales. If you don't know your pentatonic scales, I would highly recommend go back and learn those first, because there's only 5 of those. This one has 7, okay? And most of the solos that you learn in rock and roll are based off of these 2 things. There are other scales, harmonic minors, melodic minors, all that stuff too, but these are probably the most popular, your modes and your pentatonic scales. Modes, okay? And if you want to learn more about the modes, I highly recommend get this book, How to Play Guitar Modes. It's going to show you all kinds of great things here. I show you the modes in diagram format. It's written in tablature, so it's real easy to understand. I got all kinds of great stuff in here. As you can see, the diagrams, I show you different keys, how to find them, different keys and stuff, and it's written pretty easy. It's for beginners and intermediate students. I also show you like licks that you can do in these as well, okay? So I recommend you check this out. Been continuously always working on books, and this is, then I try to make some videos to show you a little bit about what you can learn from them. So if you want to check those out, you can find them on Amazon, you can find them on eBay, you can find them on my website, and they're written really simple, step-by-step format to help you out with your guitar playing. That's kind of how I started a long time ago, before the internet was out of books, and it really helped me out a lot. Books can be really good. It's good to watch videos like this too, so make sure you keep watching your videos that you're watching on YouTube. That's good, but check out books too, because the thing you got to remember is that there's always different ways to learn things, and the mind processes it different. Like when you hear stuff, as opposed to when you view stuff, as opposed to when you learn from just example. The mind processes the information different, so always be looking for different ways of learning, okay? If you learn just from one way, from just books, then you miss stuff from video. If you learn just from video, you learn stuff that you can benefit from reading books and stuff, okay? So always be trying to learn it from different methods, It's always a good idea to do that, okay? So thank you so much might help I learn how to talk, huh? Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it. I hope you got something out of the modes. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave me in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for future notifications so you know when I upload my videos. And be sure to check out my website at dwaynesguitarlessons.com. And check out my books, okay? I'm telling you, I have them right there on the website, and you can find them all over the internet. They'll really help you out with learning some stuff. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And take care, keep practicing, and I will see you at our next lesson.